What's up, YouTubers? If you're wondering why the garage looks like a bomb went off, it's because I've been out here. I said I would never do another exhaust system laying under a car, and here I am doing another exhaust system under the car. So for those of you that don't know, I had purchased the E-cutout kit. Here's the valve. I have two of them that came with lateral tees, and I was looking underneath. There was no possible way to use the stuff that they had. So basically what I ended up doing was cutting the lateral tee apart, finding a location underneath the car, positioning them, marking it up. One of the flanges that mount the valve had to be taken off and rotated, and I basically got everything all fit up. I had to go under, lay out under the exhaust where they're coming down. The good thing about it is they're coming right after the exhaust manifolds, after the O2 sensors is where they're at. So they're cut in underneath there. You have to watch for clearance so you don't go too far down with the valve and then you're hitting stuff. So there's a lot of variables, and it's a major pain in the butt. So I got that cut out. I got the holes cut. I got the pieces prepped and basically stitch welded in enough to hold everything. I don't have the proper, let's see if we can get a view of this here. I'll show you here. There's the one on the right, or the left, and one on the right. I don't have the proper wire. I have mild steel wire, and those are stainless fittings and 4100 series stainless, which has a lot of carbon in it. So I actually need 309 rod, and to weld this tiny stuff with 309 rod under the car with stick is insane. I did get quite a bit of weld on them, 4 sides. I'll show you a little bit here, this side if you can see it. I got some good stitching going down. You can see the vertical down there, and I'm welding mild steel wire, like I said, which is not the ideal thing. This could crack if I was to do it 100% and leave it. So what I'm going to do is leave it the way it is, because it's all mocked up, bring it into the muffler shop, let them finish welding it up in the air on the lift with the proper wire, and then I'll mock up my valves, you know, put the valves on. I'm going to have to grind one of them a little bit and then run all the wiring and stuff. So I've been out here messing with this for most of the day today. Pain in the butt. I cannot stand laying under the car, welding over your head, smashed like you're in a coffin. It's the worst. But anyway, the stuff's on right now, so I'm going to pass the camera to Richie, and we're going to do first fire up with open tubes here. Exhaust What's up, YouTubers? Richard 2RC Productions, giving you a little update. Last time we talked was a week ago when I did the E-cutouts. I have been looking at different E-cutout brands, and I was going to get the pipe set up that American Muscle sells, Late Model Restoration sells, and they wanted like $475 for the kit, right? And it comes with the made-up Ys, and it comes with, or lateral T, whatever you want to call it, and it comes with the wiring and so on, and all the connections and everything. Now the wiring could be a little different, could be a little better. I read different reviews on these cutouts being crummy as far as falling apart. I read guys driving and bolts falling out and bad seals, you know, where there's air, where you can see light coming through. So anyway, I showed this kit before, but basically comes with clamp, flange assemblies, little downturn pipes. They're TIG welded. They're basically just fused. There's no filler metal used. This is light, like food grade process tubing is basically what it is. 304 stainless. They give you the clamps. They give you the hardware, the bolts, flat washers, lock washers. They give you the gaskets. These gaskets look pretty nice. I am going to be using the ultra gasket, ultra copper. It's called high heat Permatex for exhaust. I actually use that on the passenger side at the exhaust manifold collector, or exhaust manifold gasket. And these are the valves themselves, and they're made out of a piece of aluminum for the base. They have a motor which acts as the actuator with the wiring coming in, and they have some insulation, weatherproof plastic heat shrink type material that goes over the motor to keep the elements out. And then it has the butterfly. It's basically all this is a butterfly valve is all it is, and you put it in line, bolt it up to your exhaust, flip the switch, open it up, it's loud, close it, it's quiet. I wanted to keep the stock Bullitt mufflers in place. If I was to go with an aftermarket muffler, it's loud all the time. That's cool. I love the sound of aftermarket mufflers, but it takes the originality away from the Bullitt. Everybody I know that has a Bullitt eventually changes the mufflers out to something else. And with the off-road H, it is loud and it sounds nice, but it's just not loud enough for cams. If I didn't have the cams, or do the stage 2 cam swap, I wouldn't even consider doing the cutouts. The reason that I'm doing it is for that really enhanced low-P idle. I don't have headers on the car right now, and as of now I have no plans to do that. That will also enhance the cam sound. So if you have a high compression car with headers, you can really tell the difference with the cams. You can really hear them. So we're kind of in the middle. We're not racing the Bullitt. It's not a race, you know, it's not a race car for me. It's a cruiser. It's a car show. It's put my foot in it once in a while. It's enjoy the sound of the cams, which I've never had in my life and always wanted. And I have that now. So I'm going to give you a little overview of what I got going. It's a week after the install. And I did a couple little sound samples, and I'm going to do some more. And basically what I ended up doing was, and I think I threw the scraps out. I wish I didn't. But anyway, I had a lateral T that I basically cut apart and reworked. I brought it into a muffler shop a couple weeks ago and had the guy look at it, and he was like, "Oh, there's no room here. You can't put it here. You can't put it there. You can't put it there." And I knew exactly what he was saying. It's very tight under these cars, especially the Bullitt being lowered. Plus, it has subframe connectors, so it makes it even more difficult. So I basically had to figure it out myself, because if I would have took it to a muffler shop and said, "Just do whatever you got to do," they would have cut the whole exhaust apart. Probably charged me $500 and something. You figure like an average rate is $90 to $100, 100 plus in a shop like that, which is understandable. Everything is $100 now. You go to get tires swapped, it's $100 an hour. So I get that. I get the labor, but the problem that I have as a person, as a fabricator, and a person that does this kind of stuff for a living, is I know how to do this stuff. The problem that comes in is, how much time do I want to spend laying under a car like a coffin with the car up smashed against my face trying to operate with cutting tools and everything else? So my hope was that I could go into a muffler shop, and I could have a muffler shop put these things in, and then I would just do the wiring and bolt up the valves and such. So when I saw that he had no good explanation and there really was no space, I knew I had to take it into my own hands. So I ended up going under the car last week. I found a location which is after the exhaust manifolds. Basically, the downpipe comes down. There's a front O2 sensors, goes down about 6 inches or so, and there's where my cutouts are. So they're right on the downpipe, facing down, kind of inwards a tiny bit. You have to make sure that you have clearance, not only for the valves to mount in place, the wiring to clear, but also that the end of the fitting is not lower than anything else or too far back. You want it as close to the front of the car as possible because it's going to travel with the front tires, if that makes sense. If you go over a bump with the front tires, the collectors are lifting up. The further back you go in the system, now you have a high center issue. So if you have a bump that you're going over and you go over like this, your front tires drop down before the back tires can come over the bump. Now you got something sticking down. I'll hit something and it'll tear them right off. So I had to be very cautious about that. So I have them in the front near the wheels. They're not hanging down now past anything else under the car. I am going to add another ½ inch with the valve that'll go on there. Basically, it'll be the gasket will go under the fitting and it'll sit like this. They have these downturns which would go after, like if it was mounted horizontally, you would put these on and have it go down. But mine are basically facing on an angle like this underneath the car, like a header would be, like a shorty header. So, having said that, I spent quite a few hours last Saturday laying it out, cutting the pipes in place. Had to do it with a drill, cut-off wheel, die grinder to get the slots, because when you cut the T, man, I wish I had the pieces here. When you cut the T, basically I was creating like an oval in the downpipe, probably about that big, because the lateral part of the T, the Y part, is coming out. So basically I laid it out, cut those slots, cleaned them up, and then I had to hold the part of the Y on there and rotate it around and hold this under there at the same time and hold it like this and then mark it with a marker. Just a total pain in the butt. I cannot stand working under cars, like doing that stuff. Partially because I'm getting older, partially because it just sucks being on your back with no room. If the car was on a lift, it'd be such a breeze. So anyway, I got them all mocked up, I got them in place, and then I have flux core 110 wire feed mild steel here, which is not ideal for this. I was welding 304 to 400 series stainless, which is high carbon content, which will corrode. 304 is pretty pure, does not hold a magnet to it. This is 304. You see how shiny it is and smooth. Different material, dissimilar metals. You're supposed to use like a 309 wire. After talking to the muffler guy that I went to the other day, he says he always uses mild steel MIG wire, which MIG is metal inert gas. Flux core is basically the flux that's laid over, that's deposited with the wire, is what protects the weld from the atmosphere. If you don't protect the weld from the atmosphere, you get porosity and you get pits, and you know the weld just looks like garbage. The integrity is not there. So when you use MIG, you're using a shielding gas, and you have a gun basically with a cup. Let's see if I can show you. This is I have a stick machine here, which welding stick on that little thin wall tubing, not good. But basically, this is a gun. This is a flux core gun right here, where a MIG has a big cup on there, and the gas comes around the outside of the cup, and basically when you're welding, the gas is pushing the toxic atmosphere away, so the weld does not get contaminated. So at the muffler shop, they have that. The flux core leaves kind of a mess, and you got to wire wheel it and clean it and everything else. But anyway, I ended up getting probably half of the weld on there. I put some weld on each side, weld on top and bottom, basically to hold it in position and get it set up for a muffler shop, because I don't have the proper rod or wire, and I didn't want to try welding this whole thing underneath the car. You're welding over the top. I can't see. As it is now, I have to wear reading glasses, so it's harder for me to see. 10 years ago, I could weld, you know, no problem with just regular safety glasses on, never have an issue. So you're under there with the hood. I got reading glasses on. You're trying to see, your face is smashed in there. It's very difficult. Anybody that welds knows what I'm talking about. It's very difficult. So I brought it into a shop. I called the shop and asked them if they could weld these in 100%, put nice clean welds on them. And then from there, I would go to mounting the Ys, or mounting the valves, and mounting my plate. I fabricated this plate to fit around the cup holder, and go in the center of the Bullitt. There is a coin slot, little press-in piece, and I pulled the coin slot piece out and designed this for the toggle to fit through there. And this is going to work really well because I can operate, I can run the wires right down through the console. So that's the other part of it. So I brought it in a muffler shop, and they told me it was like 90 bucks an hour if it took an hour. In reality, it was about a half hour's worth of welding from me looking at it. But it was kind of challenging, and the gentleman, he was a little nervous about it, and he was having a little bit of trouble. but in the end, he did a really nice job on it. He first welded it out. He had me come out there and look at it. I held the light and I saw that he missed a spot, probably about 1 inch or 1 1/4 long, a little tiny seam. He said he was having a hard time getting up there. So then I suggested he go on the inside of the pipe with the cup because it'd be easier to get to than the outside. He ended up doing that, and I believe he got it all sealed up, but we won't really know till we put the valves on and make a good seal up front if I have any leaks, which I hope I do not. That's why I brought it to the muffler shop. It ended up taking them a full hour. They charged me 90 bucks for it, which I'm not crazy about it, but if I think of what I had to do last week, if I would have brought it into a muffler shop and had them do everything I did last week, it probably would have cost 500 bucks at a muffler shop. And I'm not going to pay that kind of money to do that. So 90 bucks, if it works, everything's good, whatever. Walk away, no problem. So what we're getting ready to do is, I have all my stuff out here. Here's the wires. They have these quick press-in connectors that you wire this up. And I'm going to route these wires. I have to figure out my path, which I'm guessing I could probably come in somewhere on the firewall where one of the cables or something is coming through and try to squeeze these two through, because I have 2 of these, so I have to get 2 of these plugs through with 2 wires. Now, getting to the last part of this before we go on to the install is these came as 2 separate valves, 2 separate toggles, 2 separate wires, and then they have a connection to go into your cigarette lighter. A lot of guys don't like that. They're like, I hope I'm not shining at the wall. A lot of guys don't like that. They're like, I don't want that cigarette lighter crap. I want to hardwire it to the battery with a fuse and all that. And that's fine. But for me, I think the cigarette lighter deal is pretty cool. So basically, you plug this in one of your outlets there, and you have power. If you don't want it on, you can just pull it out, tuck it to the side, or whatever. It came with 2, so you would operate. I would have to flip a switch, flip the other switch, so one would open, or both at the same time, but 2 switches, 2 power sources. So what I did was I cut it all apart and I rewired it. Added on the other side of the toggle here for the other side. It has these 2 control boxes, which is pretty slick, because figure if you were flipping this butterfly and it went to the open position or the closed position and you kept the power going, it'd be trying to drive, and then the motor would end up burning out. I read a lot of stories about the motors burning out and so on. So they have these little control boxes in there. I'm guessing, I'm not an electric guy, but I'm guessing it has like some kind of peak voltage or load circuitry in there that when you flip the switch and it gets to the closed position, and then it clicks out right away. And it seems to work really good. So I'm hoping these last. I was talking about the pipes ones. I ordered these on eBay. They were like $120 with free shipping. I ended up having to cut the wires apart. So I would have bought the pipes ones, paid for the piping and that, cut them all apart anyway. Basically what I'm looking for is the wiring and the valves themselves. And these valves, I checked them all. I went over all the hardware. I added some Loctite in a couple spots. I checked every bolt. They are super tight. They seem to be put together really well. They have a good seal. I think we're going to be okay with these valves. I'm not driving this in the elements. The car never is in the rain. It's never in the winter. It's always in the garage. I'll keep them lubed up, and hopefully for car shows and stuff that I'm using it for, they'll work out fine. Splice these 2 control boxes together with the 1 switch. I'll have 1 switch. When I flip the switch, they both work simultaneously. I tested it. They work good. 1 cigarette lighter, plug in, done deal. So that's where we're at now with the E-cutouts. Today I'm getting ready now. It's really crummy outside. It's raining. It's Saturday morning, about 7:45, 7:45. Super dark, raining, miserable day. The wife has stuff going all day. She's going to my nephew's games with Grace. She's getting her hair done now. So I am going to take this opportunity. The weather's crummy. Can't do nothing outside anyway. To get this thing jacked up on the stands. Again, go under there. I have to fit up these valves. Now I noticed the 1 valve, I could not get around it no matter which way I went with it. I'm going to have to trim the body of this frame a little bit. I'm going to have to cut into it, make a little notch in here to clear underneath the car because it's going to hit. So I'm going to have to go under there, mark that up, mark it off, trim and grind this out, and then bolt these up. I'm going to use some of the gasket maker, like I said, seal them up, tighten them up. Those are there. The wire leads are hanging. I'm going to plug these in. I'm going to tape all these connections with black electrical tape. Seal everything up. Might even use some dielectric grease on there or something just to keep any kind of moisture out. and then I'm going to try to figure out my wiring. I got to run 2 of these, like I said. I'm going to run them through, zip tie everything up underneath there, and then I'm going to pick up some loom and basically put the plastic loom around these wires and route them nice, tape everything up, and that should be it. And then we'll see how this bad boy works. All right, YouTubers, just finished sanding this valve up. You can see I put that little radius on that side of it, sanded it up enough to clear the pipe, so it should work good. And I just used the normal Walter style flap sanding disc on there and just worked it back and forth, and then just took a hand pad, polished it a little bit. Now I got clearance. I got the gasket here, so I'm going to take this. I got my orange RTV, like I said. Here's the kind of disc that I use right here. Just a little sanding disc like that. So basically I'm going to take my orange RTV, coat it up on the gasket, coat it up on there, put the bolts in there. I'm spinning. I'm going to have to test it to make sure. There's quite a bit of clearance, but I want to make sure that that butterfly, when it opens, it doesn't hit on the wall of anything and bind up, because that's going to cause problems. So that's the next step. Get these fit up, get them both under or bolted up, and then for the hard part to figure out where I'm going to wire this stuff. All right, YouTubers, we got the valves all installed. So the valves are all installed. You can see them. The dude loaded primer on them, but I repainted them with some heat paint, and they're mounted. I checked for clearance. You can see they're open, and I checked for clearance to make sure that the valves were going to open and close smoothly. When I first put the one up and it wasn't situated right, the valve hit something and it stopped partway open. So I know that those little boxes that I was telling you for the limits, like obviously if they meet a little bit of resistance, boom, they trip out, which is awesome. Obviously the biggest problem with these things is the heat. You know, with motors, it's not like you're running these motors all the time. You run them, they run a couple seconds and they're done. It's just the heat from the exhaust system itself. I don't know how that is going to affect them over time. Good thing, like I said, car's not in the elements. So I have a plan for the wiring. I'm going to start running the wire. I'm going to attach to this brace across here, tuck it up neatly. I picked up some of the, I just went to Ace Hardware, picked up some of this loom. I'm going to put both wires in this loom, tape it up really good. I found a hole, a plug right here above the subframe connector that goes right under the seat. So I'm going to put a tiny little hole in the carpet, stick the wiring up through there, drill a hole through the plug, and then silicone it back up really good. Run that right under the seat. It'll run right under the, or right on top of the tunnel for the trans, and I should be good to go. Here's the wires, loom, like I said. I got to roll this electrical tape, Super 33 Plus. It says super strong adhesive, indoor outdoor use, high temp, low temp, and then it's good for weather. It's waterproof. And that should do it. Check back in a little bit. All complete. All the wiring done. Get it all out of the way. Open dumps. Everything. I ran it under the seat. Wires tucked away, can't see anything. All I got is the one cord going for the cigarette lighter attachment inside the car. Now I'll hit the toggle. Silent. Pretty cool. Hopefully it holds up. Gotta wipe off my stainless piece here, but now we're running through the exhaust. This is pretty awesome. It's a big project, but glad it's done. Hopefully, like I say, my only concern is that the wires and everything hold up. They're all taped up, sealed up. I got loom, I zip tied everything out of the way, so hopefully it lasts. I'm gonna check now for exhaust leaks. I didn't hear anything, and that should be it. We'll get some in-car running, and that's it. Shut up, YouTubers. The cutouts are all complete, and this camera is sitting here. It might bang around a little bit. I'm hoping not, but I want to give you guys a little in-car footage. I've been promising that for a while too. So with the camera in the car, you get the idea of the sound of the Bullitt by itself with the cams, and you'll get a sound with the cutouts. I'll just kind of cruise around a little bit and give you some sound samples. Man, is it hot. That's one thing about summer, man. Where I live in the Midwest, every day, 9,000% humidity. These windows roll down, and the black interior doesn't help either. These are cutouts closed, obviously. take off driving normal. Hopefully the camera perspective is okay. Man, it's hot. Hammered a little with the cutouts closed. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the cutouts. Now they're open. Just that fast. Couple seconds and you got open exhaust. And it's a whole new animal. Idle with the cutouts closed. Exhaust. Cutouts open. Sounds killer. It sounds killer. It's the exhaust sound I've always dreamed of. I've never had a cam car. Finally I have that sound that I always wanted. I just love it.